Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Wednesdays with Wendy, where we make small business ownership less stressful, one step at a time. Hit like if you're seeing this real quick. That would help me out a lot. Thank you so much. All right, today is the start of a new month, and this month is all about tax deductible business expenses. I know a lot of you have been asking, okay, so what can I deduct in my business? Like which expenses are deductible? Because we want to stay on the right side of the law, but we also want to make sure we get the full advantage of things we can deduct. That's what we're going to talk about this month. And today will be more of an overview of this topic. Each week, I will go in more in depth into some specific examples. But today's just an overview. However, because I want to provide value in everything I do have some guidelines for you today that you can use to begin thinking about which expenses are going to be tax deductible. And before we get to that, if you've never met me before, my name is Wendy Kane. I'm the owner of Kane Accounting and Financial Coaching. I do bookkeeping and payroll for independent contractors and small businesses so that you can have peace at tax time and throughout the rest of the year. Okay, so the there's good news and there's bad news. And I'm going to give you the bad news first. The bad news is there is not a single long, exhaustive list of deductible business expenses. You can go on the IRS website, you can Google, you might find some people claiming to have one, and certain expenses are certainly most of the time deductible for most of the people, but there is not one list like, oh, sure, I'll send you that PDF, and here we have 2,000 pages of every deductible expense. That does not exist. The good news is there are still some guidelines that we can use to figure out, hey, is this expense deductible for my business? So, as promised, the value I'm providing here, I've got my good old school visual aids. These are two words you need to remember to know if an expense is deductible for your business. Who did it upside down? How was that? This is fun. Ordinary and necessary. They said, I just read this morning that super polished social media posts is out for social media in fall of 2025. And that's good to know. I'm not super polished this morning. Okay, here we go. Now we get things on the right track. Okay, ordinary and necessary. I've mentioned this before. For an expense to be tax deductible for your business, it must be ordinary for your industry, one that most people in your industry have a lot of the time, and necessary for your business to operate and function. So, my favorite example of this is one that I just made up. Let's pretend there is a wonderful, sweet lady named Rose, and she owns a flower shop, and she's got a storefront down on Main Street in your town, and she's been there for years. And, she sells flowers to people walking by, husbands running home after a day at work, bringing home flowers for their wives. She does all that. Let's say, and just go with me here, you've got to have some willing suspension of disbelief. Let's say she bought a a jet airplane, like a corporate jet. Pretend like she could afford that, okay? Do you think that's an ordinary expense for a local flower shop owner? No, I don't think it is. Do you think it's necessary for her to deliver flowers in her town on Valentine's Day? Does she use a jet? No. I mean, she doesn't. She has a van, probably, or a car, or I don't know, people on bikes, with a little container on the back of the bike. So, anyway, that would not be ordinary or necessary for Rose's flower shop. However, let's look at FedEx or UPS. Do they have jets, corporate jets? Yes, they have a fleet of them. Is that an ordinary expense for a international shipping company? Absolutely. Is it necessary? Oh, heck yeah. I mean, how else do you get things 3 states away overnight. And there's just no way. So in that case, a corporate jet is probably tax deductible for, UPS and FedEx, but probably not for Rose's flower shop. And I know that's a bit of an extreme. Like I said, if Rose could even afford a jet, so just go with me here. But it illustrates the idea that one expense could be deductible in someone's business, but not deductible in yours, and vice versa. So that's what we're talking about all month. Always go back to ordinary and necessary, because that's going to help you when you encounter an expense and you think, can I deduct this? Think, is it an ordinary expense in your industry, and is it necessary to, you know, provide your service or make your product or sell your product in your business? All right. So, in the next few weeks, we're going to talk about, here's a preview. We'll talk about meals and entertainment. The tax rules on those have changed in recent years. I'll give you an update on that. We're going to talk about mileage and how to keep track of that. We're going to talk about larger expenses and how those are treated for tax purposes. Some are deductible, some are not. Some are deductible over time, some are deductible in this year. And we'll get into that a little bit. And we'll also talk about what documentation is needed in case you're ever audited to prove to the IRS that this was an ordinary and necessary business expense. So stay tuned every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for the next several weeks, and we will talk about all the things you ever wanted to know about tax deductible business expenses. Until then, y'all have a good day.